If it is impossible to explain, and if it comes in an unexpected time, there is only one thing, one way to call it. Call it a miracle. You are watching Panimbaya sa Kabuntagon, and today I take delight in introducing to you a very special guest, very beautiful guest, I should say so. Channel 4 TV host, news anchor, and producer, Sister Isabel Montano. Sister Isabel, thank you so much for squeezing our time into your schedule.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you for being here with us too.
Yeah.
Now, Sister Isabel, please tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a TV host and a news anchor for Channel 4. And I'm also a producer. I produce TV shows on the side.
I was informed you endorse products.
Yes, I'm also recently an endorser. I endorse Vegimax. Yeah, they've kindly sponsored our trip here. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them, for our Vegimax family. Yeah, health supplements. Yeah, food supplements.
Now, you're here because you have a very interesting story to share to us, to share with us. You were, I was informed, you were an agnostic before.
Yeah.
You used to be agnostic. Why was that so?
I was, well, I was raised in a very secular society, Italy. I'm from Italy. My dad is Italian, my mom is Filipina. So I studied I went all the way up to high school. I was in Italy, then I went to uni in London, university, and then I moved to the Philippines in 2012.
I should tell you there. Let's first define what agnostic is. Could you please tell us what agnostic is?
Basically, being agnostic is just, you are a non-believer, but you admit that you don't, in God, you don't believe in God, you don't have any God, because there are some people who have many gods.
You don't believe in things that do not exist.
Well, because you tend to base your knowledge on empirical facts.
Yes.
So on science. But agnostics, unlike atheists, agnostics admit that they know that they do not know. So like you don't believe because you haven't encountered it yet, you haven't had evidence of it yet. Unlike atheist people, they really are firm believers in the non-existence of any kind of God, of any kind of spiritual realm.
Okay. So let's go back to your being agnostic before. Sabi mo, yung parents mo Kristiyano, yung mama mo.
My mom, yeah, my mom. My dad, I would say he's never openly said anything about it, but I would say he's agnostic. I gauge he is, yeah.
He is.
He is. He still is. I don't know. I'm praying for him every day, so hopefully he's changing.
What made you become one?
What made me become an agnostic or Christian? Agnostic. Basically, just a lot has to do with the people you hang out with and school. We did a lot of philosophy back in high school. We studied a lot of atheist philosophers like Nietzsche, Kant. They all advocate the non-existence of God. So apart from that, also like our teachers were very secular, and it's the role of teachers is so important because they really are role models to their students. Exactly. So because you really admire them and you think they're such knowledgeable, intelligent people that they have questioned everything, then you tend to just absorb what their opinion is about things.
No, Sister Isa, nung agnostic ka pa, ano yung mga bagay na ginagawa mo against sa mga Kristiyano? Every time makakita ka ng Kristiyano, ano bang nasa isip mo nun?
No, wala naman. Like it's not like I would persecute Christians or anything. It's just that I just thought that believing in God and believing in the Bible was believing in fairy tales. That it was like a relinquishing of reason. You're just giving up reason because you're believing in something that you cannot prove.
Did you used to do debate then?
No. We don't really actually have that in Italian high schools. The whole debate clubs and stuff, yeah, no, not really. But when I moved on to uni and I went on to study fine art, photography, I've always been very interested in doing social documentary and doing fine art photography that had a social resonance. So I went for my thesis. I did a project where I documented this community of born-again Christians, Filipinos, that live in London. And they did a lot of like speaking in tongues and a lot of like impression of the hands, that people would faint in church, and so all of these things were really unknown to me, and they just seemed so alien and weird. And I thought, I'll do a project to document how weird these people are. So my whole project, yeah, the way I photographed them, the way I I styled the pictures the way I was sort of telling their story was to show their oddness. And after that project, I thought I would continue the project in the Philippines because it's a very spiritual country.
Yes.
And that's also one of the reasons why I came to the Philippines. After I graduated, I booked a ticket and I was going to stay 3 months. And obviously that didn't happen because I'm still here. And ideas for projects, for art projects kept on coming up, so I couldn't leave. But at the same time, I wasn't finishing the project, so I was just sort of, why am I still here? I want to go home now. I don't like it here. I didn't like it. I missed my friends. I missed my boyfriend at the time. And but for some reason, things just weren't working out for me to book this ticket and go back home.
Now, Sister Isa, dun tayo. Let's go forward. Dun sa yung slowly na conversion mo.
Well, this is what happens. Like I stayed in the Philippines. I met a boyfriend. I met this guy. We began this relationship, and this guy was a very troubled person. He had alcohol.
He's in London.
You know, he's a half Filipino, half German. But he was born and raised here, and he's an alcoholic, and he's also bipolar. So yeah, so it was. He's a very lovely person, but a very difficult person to be around, and I think God definitely used him to humble me and to put me through certain situations in which I would be, of course, as I said, forced to be humbled.
How did God use him?
Just finding myself like having to learn to love a difficult person, having to learn how to love his difficult family, and having to deal with infidelity and how do you accept that, having to deal with all sorts of situations, all sorts of dramatic situations. I would have to take care of him, make sure that he doesn't get drunk because he had a job, and make sure that he didn't get into trouble. I would have to just drive around, look for him in the middle of the night because he would just leave the house. There's all things like this, and I would just question God, like why would you, if you exist, why would you allow a person to be like this? Why would you allow one of your children to be so troubled?
Did you have any contact with Christian?
And that's how I started praying. That's how I started praying, just sort of, because I couldn't make sense of what was happening around me.
Who introduced you to praying?
Well,
taught you how to pray?
Some of my aunts back in Italy, my Catholic aunts.
So you remember that?
Yeah, when I was young. Oh, I did catechism when I was younger. And also like my mom.
I think it's really in sa mga time na ganito, in our worst time, it's that we contact God for help in our desperate times, I guess.
In the desperate times, I think God meets us especially in desperate times because that's when you're truly humbled.
Yes.
Because when you're not in desperate times.
So you were praying, and what was God's answer? Did he introduce you?
He didn't know. He wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer, and I was just sort of frustrated, and I was trying to make worldly sense of what was happening to me, sort of trying to rationalize things. But sometimes you really can't understand things until they're done, and then you realize why certain people were put into your life.
But I'm sure there are Christian people who helped you out.
Yeah, well, like my family, my uncles, they're very supportive. But at that point, really, I remember there was this particular time when my ex-boyfriend, he went on to shoot a movie out of town, in Palawan, and I was left for a month alone, and I got really jealous because his co-star was this beautiful Polish model, and the pictures kept on popping up on Facebook, and they seemed really close, and I just was going crazy. I was crying all the time, and the enemy was feeding a lot of negative thoughts about how she's prettier than you, like this, you deserve everything that you're going through, and you don't deserve like a better guy than this, all you get.
Is there anyone, or are there people in particular na na-influensyahan yung pagka-Kristiyano mo ngayon?
Yeah, and during that particular time, then I accidentally bumped into some of Joel Osteen's videos on YouTube. Yeah, Joel Osteen is an American preacher, and I just accidentally on YouTube, I knew about him because my uncle used to read him. Yeah, I used to read his books, and I used to see them around the house, but I wasn't interested, so I never touched those books. And then one day it just popped up on my feed on YouTube, and I started watching, and watching, and all of these videos were answering my questions.
Yes.
And they were sort of giving me this peace that surpasses all understanding, not because of him, the pastor, but because I guess the Holy Spirit was using him to speak to me.
And slowly, gradually, you did Bible study.
Yeah, and then we used to already do Bible study at home, but I never really was that interested. I would never really attend, sometimes just because they would force me to. And then I started, attending Bible studies as well at home. And but mainly was that, no, sorry, not alone, with my family at home. Yeah. And then from that experience, and then this, this is another thing I want to tell people. Like, sometimes God uses difficult people to carve the best out of us. And so don't fight the season you're in. Of course, don't let people abuse you, and just pray about it. And I think that if you're honest, and God will He will remove the issue or the stumbling block when He's done dealing with you. And sometimes also, this is another important thing, we think that we can change people. My thing with my ex-boyfriend was that I thought I could change him. I thought that I was God sent to change his problems, when really he was God sent to deal with my pride and my problems, Because only God can change people. Just pray for them.
What made your conversion miraculous?
What made it would be the fact that I was so cynical about Christians. I was so cynical. I was really convinced that God is fairy tale. Believing in God is just believing in fairy tales. And I was really cynical. And it's not cool to be Christian. Christians are never cool. It's like, it's almost, I used to think that if you're a Christian, then you relinquish reason, so you're dumb. That's how I would think. So for someone to be like that, and then to become a Christian, especially I became a Christian because I did an art project about debunking the Christian faith, and then sort of showing how weird Christians are, and it turned against me, and God surprised me. God surprised me big time, and now I'm a Christian. That's a miracle per se, that an agnostic could become a Christian. Cynical.
I have 2 more questions left. Kumusta yung buhay mo ngayon? How's your life now that you're a Christian?
My life now as a Christian is, the problems are still there. It's not like you turn to God and your problems are gone. Actually, sometimes things get even harder, because when you're trying to come up higher, you will be tested a lot. So like a lot of difficult situations, a lot of difficult choices to make. God is continuously asking me to make increasingly difficult choices that I never thought that old Isa would if old Isa could see new Isa, she would be amazed.
But
she would be.
You have someone you can ask help to. I'm sure it's God.
Yeah. He gives you a peace that surpasses all understanding. And I suffer from anxiety, so that helped me a lot as well.
Last one, yung huli. I'm sure there are people who used to be like you. I would ask you, please, to give and share your message to them, encourage them, maybe to follow what you are.
If I could encourage someone out there, it would be, don't be closed off, because I know it seems irrational to believe in God, but I've tried it. It's really unbelievable. If you just open up and you start studying, at least be curious. At least try and read. There's so many speakers on YouTube, on podcasts. You can download Christian podcasts. A very good speaker for atheists and agnostics, in my opinion, is Ravi Zacharias. He's a Christian apologist, yes. And apologetics is the discipline of explaining the Christian faith to the non-believer. So do sort of like research. There's no reason why you shouldn't be at least interested in finding out why so many millions of people believe in God.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me here.
More interesting news and more interesting songs. Magabalik pa ang Panimbaya sa Kabuntagon.